Your Story family, this is Allison Gaillard with Run Your Story, where every story needs to be heard. And I am so excited to be able to share with you guys my amazing friend, Faye Dawson. I absolutely adore her. She's fantastic. I've gotten to know her through mutual friends, and we didn't realize how many running friends we had in common until we started talking about it, and we were like, wow, that whole group, Faye and her group of friends, they're the GOATs, okay? They're just amazing women, amazing runners. I absolutely adore all of them. And I'm so thankful that I got to sit down with Faye and share her story. I was so excited. We've been talking for a while because she came back from running New York Marathon and did it so well. Guys, literally go stalk her social media page because you'll see her pictures and you're like, she doesn't even look like she's breaking a sweat at all. She's that photogenic. But she talks about how it's so much of her training. It was everything, and she was so strict with it. And she had the best support system from her coach, Perkins, to her friend Maggie. So again, they've been on the podcast, so go listen to their stories. But Faye talks about your best tool being your mind. And wow, she is just an amazing human being, an amazing runner. I highly encourage you guys to get to know her. I absolutely adore her and her mindset. And I really appreciated her being vulnerable and sharing the story of Senior Bowl and why it's so special to her because of the memory it has with her dad and that she gets to run. And just amazing. And so Faye, you're just extraordinary. I absolutely love you. I also love this, guys. When she came back from her marathon, she's a teacher, and she wore her medal to school. And I love that. I believe we should all start doing that after races. She doesn't even look she's breaking a sweat at all. She's that photogenic. But she talks about how it's so much of her training was everything, and she was so strict with it. And she had the best support system from her coach, Perkins, to her friend Maggie. So again, they've been on the podcast, so go listen to their stories. But Faye talks about your best tool being your mind. And wow, she is just an amazing human being, an amazing runner. I highly encourage you guys to get to know her. Again, I absolutely adore her and her mindset. And I really appreciated her being vulnerable and sharing the story of Senior Bowl and why it's so special to her because of the memory it has with her dad and that she gets to run. And just amazing. And so Faye, you're just extraordinary. I absolutely love you. I also love this, guys. When she came back from her marathon, she's a teacher, and she wore her medal to school. And I love that. I believe we should all start doing that after races, just wearing our medals to work. I feel like that should be a thing, right? I absolutely love that. So thank you, Faye, so much for your story. I'm so excited for you guys to be able to listen to it. And speaking of listening to, this podcast is powered by Do Goods Mercantile, which is a shop right here in downtown Mobile, one of my favorite places to shop. Guys, Do Goods carries items from companies that are literally doing good in some unique, cool way. All of the companies that are featured in the store employ people at risk or with disabilities, and others donate a portion of their profits to ministries and nonprofits that they believe in, that they're passionate about, that is literally changing the world. Do Goods is committed to connecting customers and companies who are uniquely generous and community-minded, and I absolutely love that so much. Every time you make a purchase, you make a difference. And guys, can I tell you, go in there, shop with Annie and the gang. They're absolutely amazing. Also, I highly encourage the hot chocolate. Go buy you some. It's that good. And if you didn't get a really good gift this Christmas or what you wanted, go splurge at Do Goods and tell them, hey, I listened to Run Your Story, and they're going to give you a discount because they believe in Run Your Story and they believe in running community, and we absolutely love them. Guys, you can shop at Do Goods at 202 St. Michael Street, downtown, or online at dogoodsmercantile.com. Also, follow their social media. They post all the time, all the cool stuff that they have, and I keep them in business because I go there a lot. And I love them. Seriously, Annie, Chops, Kate, they're all going to help you shop. They're all going to do a tremendous job, and you can literally find something for anybody in the store. So shout out to Do Goods Mercantile Company. Thank you guys for what you do. Thank you for powering this podcast, and thank you for our running community. All right, guys, lace up those shoes, get ready and get set, and go run with my friend Faye and her run story. So excited. So fun story, and this is something we were just talking about, is that we've been social media friends for a while.
Yeah.
But then we have the same friend network.
Lots of mutual friends.
Oh my gosh. You were coached by the great Clarice Perkins.
Coach Clarice.
Hashtag. She came back and ran after having a baby.
I know.
Like right after.
Like certified freak.
Yeah. Weirdo. And then Maggie who was on here. Yeah. So excited. We've been talking for a while about getting you on. And you said, yes, but I want to wait because something magical is about to happen.
Yes. Now I have a really good story to share.
So, Faye, what is your run story, my friend?
So my run story, I guess you would call me a late in life runner.
Okay.
I really didn't start running pretty consecutively and keeping up with weekly mileage and training and all that until I had to go back and think, because it feels like it's been a part of me forever.
Right, sure.
But really, it was probably when I started dating my now husband in 2015, and he was a runner.
Okay.
But he did it more just for exercise, and he would sign up for 5Ks or a 10K. But for him, it was more of just a stress reliever, and he enjoyed doing it. And then we started dating around 2015, and I got into running through him. Now, I had done sports growing up and played basketball in high school, was a cheerleader, so I was athletic and, of course, had experience running, but not as a primary sport.
Sure.
And in college and even post-college, I would run, walk for exercise just to like stay healthy. But again, it was never a passion. And when my husband and I started dating, I got into it. I ran the Azalea Trail Run with him that first year that we were dating. And that was probably the first time I'd ever run the trail run. I just did the 5K. Of course, he did the 10K. But it was great. And then I was kind of like, okay, I get this. I get why people are into this. So we did a few 5Ks together. And then I told him, I think I'm ready for the next step. I think I'm going to do a 10K. And he was like, okay. So then I had that in my mind that I wanted to maybe go to the next level. So I signed up for, and they don't even have this race anymore. It was the Senior Bowl.
Oh, such a good race.
It was like in November.
Yes.
It was so good.
Downtown.
Yeah.
Oh,
so that was my first 10K. And so I was still running with him, kind of training for that, knowing that was going to be my next goal, was to run a 10K. And then in October of 2015, my dad died suddenly of a brain aneurysm. And it just rocked our world. I was 28, and my husband and I had only been dating for a few months at that point. To go through this really traumatic event of losing a parent, he was here that morning and then gone by lunch. I mean, great, you never want to say a great way to go, but it was a great way to go for him. It was quick and painless, but it just was so earth-shattering. And I even remember telling my mom, I wouldn't even blame my husband if he broke up with me, just because it's like you go through these really traumatic events, and we've only been dating a few months, and to lose a parent, but he stuck around. And I think that really also strengthened our relationship, that we went through that trauma together. And so it was October of that year, and then even a few weeks later, the Senior Bowl run, and my husband was like, it's okay if you don't want to do it. Sure. And I was like, no, now I have to do it. I have to do it now more than ever. And so that race just always sticks out in my mind because I get to do this race. My dad's no longer here, and I'm young and capable and able-bodied, and I'm going to run every run I can now like it's my last run, because you never know. And so fast forward a few months, we get engaged, and it was wonderful, and we're so excited. And at that point, my husband had just run his first half marathon, and it was the Rock and Roll half in New Orleans. And so right after we got engaged, I was like, you know what? I think I can do a half. And he was like, Faye, okay. He's like, pump the brakes. You've done some 5Ks, you did a 10K. It's a big jump going from 6 miles to 13. And I was like, are you telling me I can't do it? And he was like, yeah, I don't think you can do it.
No.
Oh, yeah.
And you're stubborn. Like, I can already, if somebody tells you no, you're going to be like, bet.
I know. I was like, that's all I have to hear. That's all the motivation I need, is you telling me you don't think I can do it? Watch me. So we got married in January of 2018, and a few weeks after that was the Rock and Roll half again. So it was going to be my husband's second time running it. And so I told him, I said, I'm just going to sign up and run it with you. And he was like, fine. So this, again, we've only been married for a few weeks at this point. And
welcome to marriage.
Right. And over the course of our whole relationship, we've already gone through so much together. I laugh and say we got married is already just this old couple that's already dealt with all this trauma. But we got married in January of 2018, and then that following month in February, I ran my first half. So it was my husband's second, and then it was my first full half. And then after that, I was completely hooked. Hook, line, and sinker, I'm doing this. And I ran, I think my second half, I did the Mobile half. Mm-hmm. And I had never even really thought about running a marathon. That to me seemed like a totally unreachable goal. I mean, I was proud of myself having gone from saying that, okay, I can do these 5Ks, I can do a 10K, I know I can do a half marathon, but that was just not even on my radar. And so it was 2020, the very beginning of 2020, and I had put my name in the lottery for the New York Marathon. And I told my husband, and he was like, that's crazy. He's like, you are insane. And I was like, well, I mean, worst case scenario, I don't get selected. And it was Mardi Gras, because that year of 2020, Mardi Gras happened right before COVID happened, which no one knew was coming. And I remember I was home for Mardi Gras break. I'm a teacher, so I was off that week. And I'm sitting there, and I got an email. And it was like an email charging, because I got event insurance, because when you enter the lottery, you do have to enter your credit card in case you get selected, so they'll charge you, and then there's an option for event insurance. And I remember I was sitting there, and I got an email from the event insurance showing that they were charging me, and my heart sank, and I was like, no way. I was like, I wouldn't be getting charged if I hadn't been selected. And then a few minutes later, the email came. And you open the email, and it's congratulations, like confetti, and it's you're running the New York Marathon in 2020. And I could not believe it. Called my husband at work. He was like, no way. So we were so excited. We immediately booked our flights to New York, booked our hotel room, because that's what people told us to do. Even though the marathon's always in November, they were like, you need to book early. So we booked our flight, booked our hotel. We're so excited. And at that point, I'd been running for several years now, and I would say I was already in pretty good just endurance and conditioning shape, but I talked to Clarice, she's a good friend of mine, and I was like, okay, I need you to map me out like a training plan, first marathon, what do I need to be doing? And got all my planning in my mind, and I was probably, I don't know, I had gotten up to around like 15, 16 miles training in anticipation of that, and then summer of 2020 comes the dreaded email, the marathon's been canceled. And I was like, oh, I had a feeling that might happen. So that was disheartening, but basically all the runners that year for 2020, since the marathon was canceled, you got deferred. And then you got to pick whether you wanted to be deferred into 21, 22, or 23. And I think at the time, my husband and I had already had one child, and we knew that we wanted to try to have another child. And COVID was obviously so unexpected. No one in the world was prepared for that. And we weren't really sure of our timeline and what we wanted to do with our family. But my husband was like, why don't you just defer to 2023? Because then that way we just have a big window. So I did, and I didn't even think about it. COVID came and went, and I got pregnant. We had our daughter in spring of 2020. And then I finally was like, holy crap, now the marathon is actually coming next year. And now I have to get in shape, and I've just had a baby, and I'm postpartum, and now there's not going to be another global pandemic that's going to cancel it. I really have to buckle down and do it this time. And started training this summer, and I did a really strict 18-week training program, and I just ran the marathon this past November. So it was a long time goal where I waited, and then it finally came, and it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible.
I just have to know, when you crossed the finish line, did you say, I told you so? I told you I could do that.
I know, right? It was Yeah, so that's where I am now in my run journey, and I laugh with my husband because when we got married, you were the runner. This was your sport, and you got me into it, and now I've like far surpassed him. I mean, he did a lot of races before I came into the picture, but we did some races together, and then we've done the rock and roll half marathon, but I laugh because I'm the runner now. I need you to stay home on weekends when I'm training. But I do have to, he earned that medal just as much as I did, because putting in the work and the time for those 18 weeks, could not have done it without him, because training is a commitment. And it takes time. And when I'm getting up every morning at 4:30 to go run, and then on the weekends when I have these long 16, 18-mile runs, that takes time, and I do have to give him credit because he was my biggest supporter and biggest cheerleader, even though he would be snickering at me along the way.
I love it because I do have to say this because, you know, I was one of those that I was like, yes, go, like watching you in a conversation that says, I can't even wait to see your pictures. And you shared these pictures, and I was like, Faye, did you even run the marathon? Because holy smokes, you looked fantastic.
Thank you.
So unfair of like how like you crossed, and I was like, no, she looks amazing.
Well, and it's hard too because that was my first full marathon, and then having that experience in New York was so amazing.
Sure.
It is the catchphrase of the marathon is "it will move you." That's how they market it. It does. The whole experience was incredible and so well organized, and the volunteers. And the hardest part for me though was I didn't start till almost 11 o'clock because of the way there's so many runners, and so the way that the waves are spread out. My wave that I was in, we started at 10:55, and I was like, I'm used to getting done with my runs around this time, especially when I was in those longer training runs, because I'm an early bird. I can get up, and once I'm up, I can go, and so that was hard. And I was so thankful, though, that when I did finish, it was still daylight, because there's so many runners in that race that finish in dark. But the crowds, they were incredible.
Wow.
Incredible.
What a story. And it's not over with.
It's not over,
Oh, I love that so much.
Over.
So let's talk about some lessons that you've learned along this journey.
Lessons that I've learned. I really think that running can be a metaphor for anything you do in life. And I think that really became more true to me when I was in this really intense training for the marathon. I think running teaches you that your best tool is your mind.
Yeah.
Because on the days where you're tired and you don't want to get up, and then when you are in those long runs and your legs are tired and you're thinking, I can't possibly go another step, running teaches you that it's mental. It is all mental, and your mind really is your strongest tool. And I think the other thing with running, this is such a sport where there is such a community, but I think it's so easy to compare yourself to other runners when the only person you're really competing with is you. There's always going to be someone that's faster than you. Sure. There's always going to be people that just have better strides and can keep up paces and negative splits and all that. And if you get wrapped up in all that, it's what do they say? Comparison is the thief of joy. And it's true, because you really can't compare yourself to anyone except you. And I think that running has really taught me that. And I think the other biggest thing, and this also was so true to me crossing the finish line at the marathon, is anything that is really worth achieving is going to take hard work. But if you put in the hard work, you can do it. And my oldest son is 13, and he's into sports and plays basketball, and I've tried to really talk to him and explain to him, your mind and your body is capable of so much. But there are going to be things that are hard, but if you put in the work, you can do it.
Wow, those are some great lessons. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
I love that. Especially, and I love how you're impacting your children. And not only that, but as a teacher, I know that there are students that are probably like, guess what?
Oh, yeah. So, yes, I teach 5th grade, and I love that age because...
Do you really?
I really do.
Wow.
I really do, because I like being able to teach children that are a little more independent. I've done kindergarten, I've done 2nd grade, and I don't want to be tying shoes all day. Been there. But I think with 5th graders, too, and I love the age because they're getting ready to go off to middle school, and we're really trying to teach them autonomy and how to advocate for themselves. And They had heard me talk about running all year, and they knew that I was running the marathon. And it was so funny when I came back to work on that Tuesday. I wore my medal to work.
I love that.
I wore it all through the airport, flying home. I was like, I'm showing this off.
Excuse me, security.
But I wore my medal to school, and all my students were, oh, did you win, Miss Dawson? You have a medal on. Did you win? I was like, yes, I did. Because you can win in anything that you set your mind to. So it was just such a cool experience.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And thank you so much for talking about comparison, because that is something that we do sometimes get wrapped up in. And I think that's the reason why I have to tell myself, this is your race, it is your pace. You're here. You paid the same amount of money. You're just going to have more fun.
Yeah,
You're going to spend more time on the pavement.
Exactly.
But I love how you said that. And then also how, yes, it's hard. And yes, you have to work hard at it. But it's going to be so good at the end.
Oh, yeah. And I think I had to teach myself that, too. During my training, I was like, don't stop when it's getting tough. Like, all of this is temporary. Yes. The pain is temporary. The blisters are temporary. And I had to just remind myself, as much as I want to quit, I've come this far. Do not stop when things get tough. And I think that goes back to just the fact that running, it really can strengthen your mind. And your mind is your greatest tool.
I love that. Oh, that's so good. Okay, so obviously, New York Marathon is pretty special.
Yes.
But do you have another favorite race where you're like, ooh, that just gives me goosebumps to go to that race?
The Senior Bowl 10K is a special one, and I think will always be special since I did that shortly after losing my father. Special, I mean, I love any local race.
Okay.
I love the races here in Mobile, the Battleship 12K.
Oh, yeah.
I've run that for the last 2 years, and that race, I love that time of year. I love the Old Mobile 8K.
So scenic.
Yeah, I did that this year. That was a great run. Azalea Trail Run, I always love. I just always pray that it happens actually when the azaleas are out. And a lot of times Mobile will get that false spring and all the azaleas will bloom, and then you don't get to enjoy them during the run. But I think, any local run here in Mobile. I've done the Mobile Half Marathon twice. I'm doing it again this January.
Nice.
I feel like as long as they keep putting that on, I'll always do it just because it's an easy flat course. And I loved running the Rock and Roll Half in New Orleans. I've done that race twice. I hate that they don't do that anymore as well. But I'd have to say anything local.
I love that. I will say it is really cool to see all the different places that Mobile has to offer for races. It's pretty special. And I'm the same way. I'm like, man, I really wish somebody would bring back Senior Bowl 10K. Because there's something about just finishing there downtown. Man, it was just, and the after party was amazing.
I know.
Like, oh my gosh, it was so good. I love that. Let's talk about pre-race routine. What does it look like for you?
Pre-race routine. I can say in all of my training that I did for the marathon, my long runs were always on Saturday. And so I got into a habit of, we would usually have dinner as a family Friday night, and then I would say, okay, I got to go to bed. And so I would give that excuse and say, okay, I got to go to bed. So I'd try to go to bed early, but I would always wake up. I have to eat, usually, and now that's become a routine before any race.
Okay.
Even if it's a 5K, I always have to eat something, even if it's small. When I'm actually at the race, waiting for a race to start, pre-race routine is probably a lot of nervous stretching. I'll do maybe a warm-up mile and then just stand there waiting for the gun to go off and that jump scare.
That's amazing. Do you have a favorite fuel that you like first thing in the morning? Because you talked about eating before a race. Like, what's your...
So I'm a coffee girl.
Yes, I knew we were good friends.
Yes.
I knew that. Okay.
I drink lots of coffee. In the morning, fuel, light breakfast. It could even be a piece of toast, half of a bagel, some peanut butter, coffee. I've gotten into the Element electrolyte mix, and I've started to just incorporate those throughout the day. Because I don't hold anything when I run. I don't run with a water bottle. And so I know a lot of runners do like to carry their own fuel and water and have electrolyte on them. But I have started to drink one of those before a run. And then on long runs, Honey Stinger is really the only gels or chews that I have found that really are consistent and I can handle.
Okay.
I've done goos, like the GU goo. The consistency is a little thick for me. But during the marathon, Clarice, in all of her research, she was like, they're going to offer the S gels on the marathon course. Okay. So then Clarice and I were like, we need to train with that.
Sure.
Because then you'd never go by the rule, never try anything new on race day. So Clarice ordered a case of these SIS gels, and we split some to use during our really long training runs. And they are huge.
Okay.
They are so long and really big and impossible to open.
Oh, like, so not runner friendly.
No, they are not runner friendly at all. And even Clarice was like, I remember she texted me after a long run and she was like, that took physical strength to open. And I was like, I know, I had to stop and really work at it.
Really?
And so I finally was like, you know what, I'm just going to carry my own. It would be great if I didn't have to do that and I could rely on the gels that they were offering on the course, but they are huge. They are literally massive. They take up all your space in your pocket, and they're impossible to open. So for the marathon, I actually ran with the Honey Stinger chews, and I would just pop those in as needed. But then it was nice because then by the time you get to the finish line, you consumed everything. So it's like I told my husband, I'm having all this stuff on me when I start, and then when I cross the finish line, I literally just want my phone because everything else I will have used or discarded of if I didn't need.
Yeah.
So
interesting. And that's so great that you guys were like, let's try this out beforehand, because could you imagine doing it during the race? And
I guess the marathon has some sponsorship with them, and I get it if that's what they're offering, but they were not easy.
Way to prepare ahead though. That's impressive.
Oh yeah, well that's Clarice. Yeah. She takes the credit for that. She is my go-to for any and all things, questions related to running and nutrition, and she had printed out spreadsheets because we traveled to New York with her and her husband Woody, and in the airport she was handing us all our itinerary, and she's like, okay, here's your spreadsheet, and then she was like, Earl and Woody, I have mapped out where y'all need to be standing.
Stop it.
Oh yeah,
Stop it.
She was like, she was in a different wave than I was.
Okay
But we knew that our husbands were going to be together all day on the course and hanging out and waiting for us, but she had it down to a T, and she was like, okay, this is where y'all need to be standing, and this is what time I should be there based on my expected pace. And then y'all can jump over here and see Faye come around because she will have started an hour behind me, and this is what time she should be there based on her pace. And I was like, thank God that someone is thinking ahead like this.
Wow. Which made the whole trip more enjoyable.
It did. Yeah. And of course, honestly, all the things that she had planned, they ended up not doing, and they just kind of winged it. But we did get to see our husbands twice on the course, which was really special.
Yeah, absolutely. The guys are like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks.
I'm like, Clarice, did you factor in like the closest bar to where you want them to stand? Because that's probably what they're going to be doing as they wait for us.
You're like, wait, what are we here for again?
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about you cross the finish line. What do you like to do?
Crossing the finish line, again, if it's a local race, immediately going to get a post-race beer.
Okay.
If they have them. And I'm not a big drinker. I'll drink socially or like wine with dinner, but there's just something about that post-race beer. It's so good. It's so cold and refreshing. So I love getting a post-race beer. Stretching. I love to hang around and watch others as they cross the finish line, especially if I've got friends that are running. I like to cheer them on. But when I get home, it's shower and I want to take a nap.
Yeah.
Depending on how long the race was.
Right. Fair. That all sounds great. Okay, so I have to know, because you just said you don't carry things with you. So what is your favorite running item?
I want virtually nothing when I run.
Wow.
So much of my running during the week, I do go very early in the morning because I am a teacher and I do have young kids, so I've got to get them up and dressed into school, and I have to get to work. So especially in those 18 weeks that I was training for the marathon, I was getting up at 4:30 and getting my runs in the morning. And that's why I'm so thankful for Maggie. And I'm like, Maggie, you could have run this marathon with me. She basically trained with me, especially on those morning runs. But I cannot. When Eliza Fletcher got abducted and killed in Memphis, it just really shook me.
Sure.
And that was really hard for me to wrap my head around because she's a mother. I'm a mother. She's a teacher. I'm a teacher. She's out early in the morning doing what she loves. And when that happened, that was really hard for me to reconcile with. And I won't say I was scared, because I never want to live in that mentality of being afraid, but I really was. Unless I have a partner running with me, I just can't go by myself that early. So my husband got me one of those Birdie personal safety alarms, and I don't even know if it would really do anything. Of course, it's very loud, but I do run with that every time I run now. So that is probably my favorite run accessory.
Okay.
If I'm running in the morning alone and in the dark, I would never leave the house without that. It just brings me that peace of mind. Other favorite run accessory, Claris got me on board with the headphones.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Because before I was just running, I don't always run with music.
Okay.
Especially if I'm running with someone, I don't need music because we'll chat. But if I was running by myself, I would just have my AirPods in, and they'll fall out when you start to sweat. And then that was annoying. And Claris was like, Faye, you need to get some shocks. They are amazing. They stay on, and they don't go in your ear. So you still have spatial awareness and you can hear your surroundings. So finally bought myself a pair, and that's probably my other favorite run item.
Okay.
They're awesome.
So speaking of running music, when you do listen, what is your playlist, my friend?
When I do listen, I'm all over the place. Sometimes I listen to podcasts.
Oh, okay. Any one particular?
And when I'm listening to music, I'm seriously all over the place. I could be listening to classic rock, to country, to Widespread Panic. I'm like, I am every genre and in between. My friend made me a playlist for the marathon, and it was, again, just like a mixture of rap, country, rock. I told him all my favorite bands and songs, and so he made me a playlist. And around mile 13 in the marathon, I was running with my phone, and then I had my shocks, headphones, and it was great because we were in, first of all, the New York Marathon, the first 13 miles, you're in Brooklyn, basically.
Okay.
So much of the course is actually in Brooklyn. And it was around mile 12, 13, and I was actually listening to the Beastie Boys, No Sleep Till Brooklyn, and so I was really into it, and like crowds were great. And then I guess there was just something with the amount of people, my shocks stopped connecting to my phone.
Oh,
so,
no.
And then I kept trying to fiddle with it, but I didn't want to stop. And I finally was just like, forget it. And so from mile 13 on, I had no music. But then I really didn't need it.
Sure.
Because the crowds are insane, and the support just carries you.
Oh.
So I was bummed when I couldn't get my music to work, but then I was like, I don't need it.
Yeah.
I can do it without it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. All right, what are you running?
Shoes. What do I run in? So I go to Aaron at Run and Try. He's been our shoe guy. He fits me and my husband. Lately, my last several pairs, I have been in the Saucony glides. Those are just comfortable. And it's like Aaron said, he was like, when you find a shoe that fits, like you make it work for as long as you can until it doesn't work anymore. And I remember online that was having a sale, and they were insanely cheap. They were already discounted, and then there was you enter this promo code, and then it took off some more, and I ended up finding them online for, I swear, it was like $15.
What?
And so I was like, I'm going to go ahead and order 3 more pairs while they're this cheap. And I felt guilty because I love to support local, and we love Aaron, but I was just like, I can't, these are my shoes, and they're so on sale. So I have stocked up, but I try to be really conscious I try to get new shoes every 300 miles. And I used to go like old school, and I'd actually take a Sharpie and write the date.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I would write the date on the side of the sole, the day that I started in them, so I could be aware. But I have recently gotten in the Strava world. I'm like, where was this app on all of my running life? And so I just downloaded and got on Strava this spring. And so now I'm like, that's great, because it keeps track of your shoe mileage right there. And then it'll tell you like, hey, you've gone 400 miles in these shoes. And I'm like, whoa, okay, it's time to rotate them out.
Wow. Let me just pull out the new box of...
Yeah, let me just go to my closet and see which color I want.
That's amazing. So let's talk about what has been a favorite running memory.
Favorite running memory. I think any race that you finish is really special. There was a local race. It was with the Little Sisters of the Poor.
Okay.
It was a 5K. It was called Blisters for the Sisters.
Okay.
And I don't know if they do it anymore. It might have been something that kind of went away during COVID and they just never brought it back. But I guess the last time that my husband and I, because my husband, he's really good about when local races are popping up, and we would sign up together. And so we registered for that race, and it was just a 5K, but then they had the fun run afterwards, like a 1 mile fun run. And so my oldest son, who's 13, he came to the race with us and ran. And again, I'm like, look around. There's not a lot of people here. Yeah. It's a pretty small race, and there's nuns that some of the nuns run. So I'm like,
really?
Yeah. Okay. And so I'm like, okay, like the field is not super stacked, but that race, I remember, and I'm trying to remember the last year we did it. But that race was really fun. I came in first place in my age group.
Yeah, you did.
I think my husband came in second place, and then my son won the fun run.
Oh, I love that.
And I remember he just thought that was so cool. And like we all got medals, and then of course Cammie from Old Dutch, she's so great and comes out and helps support and be a vendor, and then we got ice cream, and he just thought that was the coolest thing ever. He was like, "You mean I got a medal and I get ice cream?" And I was like, "Yes." So that's just a really special race and memory that always sticks with me.
That's amazing. I love it. Listen, if there's a race and Cammie's not there, I'm like, man,
I know.
Was it even worth it?
I know.
It's just, I'm with you. It's something special about having her at the finish where you're like, yes, I'll take that. The vanilla even tastes better after you've ran. You're like, okay, because I never go to Cammie's and actually get vanilla.
Yeah.
Because there's the coffee flavor.
And there's so many other.
I know there's the Christmas ones. So it's like you always go there for special things. But, crossing the finish line, I'm like, yeah, girl, give me the vanilla.
Yeah, I'll take that little styrofoam cup of ice cream. Absolutely. I'm with you.
I love that. Okay, so is there a meal that you're like, I have worked my tail off. I want to eat this now.
So I'm never super hungry after a run, and you always have the adrenaline high, and you're just coming off the excitement of a big race. When we were in New York after the marathon, and that's the other thing about the marathon is there's so many logistics.
Sure.
And the race started in Staten Island, and even the transportation to get to the race, I had to take the subway to the ferry. I had to take the ferry to Staten Island, then you get on a bus, and then the bus drops you off at the start village, and then you run from Staten Island, and you end up in Central Park.
Wow.
So logistically, there's a lot of moving parts, and I remember crossing the finish line, and of course, just soaking it in, so surreal. But then it's another mile just for the runners to exit the park to the area where you are reunited with your family.
Okay.
And I remember going back and looking at Strava after the marathon, and I had done almost 28 miles. And so I was like, okay. So I'm so tired, and then I finally see my husband, and we're so excited. But then I'm like, we still have to get back to the hotel. So then we had to walk from Central Park to the closest subway line, take the subway back to Grand Central, and then walk to our hotel. And then I remember he was like, Faye, you must be just starving. What do you want to eat? And I was like, I literally want to take a shower, and can we just order room service? Yeah. And he was like, you don't want to go out and celebrate? We're in New York. Everyone goes out after the race. And I was like, no, I don't. So we finally make it back to the room, and I swear our room service order, I think I had a burger and fries. We ordered wings, we ordered spaghetti, and then he also wanted these little pork sliders. And then we get all this food, and then I was like, I can't eat anything. I was like, my body was in shock.
It's like we just did 28 miles.
Yeah, I was like, my eyes are bigger than my stomach. So it's funny because I'm like, so many people ask me that. They were like, what was your post-race meal? Yeah. How did you celebrate? Like, and I was in the bed, curled up in the fetal position with my body in shock, not even really able to enjoy this giant meal we ordered. But
your husband enjoyed it.
He enjoyed it, yes. And then he went out, and I was like, don't forget, we have a really early flight tomorrow. But I'm glad you're out celebrating for us.
Here, take my medal. Show my medal.
Right.
That's amazing. Okay, so let's talk about recovery, because obviously You don't just go and run.
No.
There are things you have to do
Yes.
as well. What does recovery look like for you?
I'm really bad, and I do not have foam rollers or
Okay.
anything like that. And Clarice has mentioned that to me. She's like, you need to get a foam roller and roll it out, stretch it out. My personal best recovery tool is really sleep.
That's a good one.
Because I think I'm just so sleep deprived anyways. Being a wife and a mother and a teacher and waking up, I was so used to just, in that training, I wouldn't even set my alarm because my body would just wake up at 4 o'clock.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, time to get up, time to go run. So sleep, I'm a big napper. I can take a nap, even if it's a power nap. I can feel totally refreshed after a 15-minute nap. But sleep is probably my number one recovery tool. I do love a bath. I will, especially if it's a local race, I'll come home and take a bath, put some Epsom salt in there, and a nap, and then I'm good. And I don't, even after the marathon, I was really surprised at how well I recovered.
Sure.
The marathon was on a Sunday, and we came back to Mobile Monday, and then obviously I rested Monday, Tuesday, and I think Wednesday I was running again.
Wow.
And I was surprised because I didn't know what to expect since that was my first marathon. I didn't know if I was going to be in shambles and need weeks of recovery.
Sure.
But I really felt good. And by Wednesday, I told my husband, I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna wake up and go run in the morning. He was like, what? He was like, are you crazy? I was like, yeah. But I'm like, I feel good. I wasn't sore, and I don't know.
That's amazing. I love that. Oh, man. So cross-training activity.
Cross-training. So I was a big F45 client and loved F45. And I did that for a long time, even during COVID. The gym was open during COVID. And when I was pregnant with this last pregnancy, I was pregnant with my daughter, I really wasn't doing a lot of running during my pregnancy, but I could still do F45. And I'm sure I looked ridiculous because I'm this pregnant woman doing box jumps, but my doctor was like, just don't do any burpees. Yeah. So I loved F45 because it was such a great combination of certain days the workouts were more cardio-based, and then other days they were more resistance and weight training. And then the Saturday class was more of a boot camp hybrid style. And then sadly they closed. The local gym here closed. There is still an F45 in Daphne, but it's just not super convenient to get to. We have a Peloton at home, and that was another COVID purchase when the whole world was thinking we were going to have to live at home forever. But we bought the Peloton bike, and I use that sometimes. I honestly could probably utilize it more. Now, my husband has gotten really into it, and I'll joke with him where I'm like, I've become a runner now, and you've become like a cyclist. Right. Because he rides that thing like it's taking him somewhere. But I don't know, it's something about just, I don't like working out at home. And I think that's why I love running so much, because I just put my shoes on and go. Yeah. Doing it at home is hard, but when F45 closed, and the hard thing was F45 closed in the middle of my marathon training, and that was my cross training. Yeah. Because in my plan, I was supposed to have 2 days of cross training when I wasn't running, and they closed, and I was like, what am I going to do now? So I will say I got lazy the second half of my marathon training, and I probably didn't cross train as much as I should have been, but my excuse was my gym closed, and what am I supposed to do? And your husband's, we have the Peloton. Yeah, my husband's like, we have this expensive bike that we pay for each month. And we even have the bike that has like the swivel screens.
Oh, you're that bougie.
Oh, yeah. So we can turn it around, and I have a room where I can follow the classes and lift weights. But I don't know. Yeah. It's been hard. I've done crew fitness a few times, and I do love rowing because they had rowers at F45, and so much of crew is rowing. So I've done crew a few times. Sarah Nell has a workout class.
Yeah. See, that's just too early in the morning.
Oh, yeah. But see, that's my time. Like, I'm a morning person.
I get you and Sarah Nell.
So I ran with Sarah Nell.
She's course great. You did.
She's like
weirdos.
No, she's so much faster than I am. But I've done her workout class. She can kick.
Did you really do her?
Yeah, I've done it.
So sorry. And you live to tell about it.
Yes, I live to tell the tale. But
Faye, you're a beast. That's all I gotta say.
She's a beast.
She's a monster.
And I don't know. I guess I don't really have one set cross training because my one set one left me. But I would love to be one of those people that kind of gym hops where it's try your first week free.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, let me see if I like this.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I've never done CrossFit. I know a lot of people go to Orange Theory. So I know Mobile has a lot of great options. Sure. I've just always been the runner. But I know the older I get, I know that resistance training is just as, if not more important. You don't want to always laugh, and I never want to be so old that someone has to help me go to the bathroom because I'm not strong enough. So that is really important.
Oh, 100%. And I say what I do now is going to make me, hopefully one day in the future, be a great, the best, coolest grandparent there is, because I want my kids to be able to say, hey, I can take my kid for a day or whatever, and then to be at a race and be pushing
exactly
my grandkids.
Yeah.
That's my goal, is my grandkids will be runners.
I know. It's funny you say that. Our youngest child she's not even 2 yet, and we have a big jogging stroller.
Yeah.
And I cannot stand to run and push her.
Really?
Because again, I think it goes back to I want to be free. I don't want to be carrying stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to hold anything in my hand. And so
I don't want to push anything.
But again, my husband, when he does still run, he will just say, okay, well, I'm just going to throw her in the jogger and we'll just go run 3 miles. So he loves to push her. So I'm like, good, at least it's getting used by one of us.
I love that. Is there a race that you're like, yeah, I don't think I'll do that one again?
Isn't that kind of the mindset of any race you finish? The crime prevention 5K.
Oh, that's a terrible one. Yeah.
It is literally the hottest race ever. I did it this past year in August, and August was the hottest month on record.
Brutal.
That was absolutely miserable. But when I ran it, I think I got third in my age group. The other race that I enjoy it, and it's very well organized and put on, and it was the first time I did it, was this year, was the Dauphin Island Bridge Run on the summer solstice.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't even the elevation, because I ran a lot in Spring Hill during my training, so I'm used to the hills and the elevation. And I'm not even afraid of heights, but that race, there was something about being up on that bridge, and when I was looking out, we're really high up here, and these rails are not that tall. It kind of freaked me out. But you say that, and then I'm sure I'll do it again. I'm sure I'll do the crime prevention again. I'm sure I'll do that race again.
So I ran crime prevention, and then this year we wound up volunteering. So we were at the finish, and both Gray and I were like, we are drenched in sweat.
Oh, yeah.
And we were like, we were just standing there. And I was like, this is bad. And so everybody that came across, I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, to me, you're a winner, because you crossed that finish line for that one.
I'm telling you, training during August this past year, I remember Maggie and I would meet on our little weekly runs that we would do early in the morning, and it would be 5 a.m. and your phone said it feels like 97.
Yeah, it was stupid.
It was insane. And I remember there was one day that we were running, and I even texted her, and we were running 6 miles that morning. But I texted her, and I was like, hey, we should probably go and drop some water at various points on our route before we run. And so I remember that one morning I even got up a little bit earlier than I normally get up, which is super early, and I went and dropped us water bottles along our route. And I was like, we had to.
Yeah.
It was so hot.
Wow. That's incredible that you did that. I just admire you so much, Faye. I want to be you, an early bird like that.
I'm telling you, it was something. And then even after the marathon, when I wasn't on this strict training plan, I'm still waking up at 4 just because my body's been used to doing that for the last 18 weeks. I don't know what it's like to sleep in anymore.
Wow.
What is that? It's gotten a little better. I guess I'm an early riser.
Oh my, wow. You are my goal. That's what, I want to be Faye. Speaking of, let's talk about somebody comes to you and they say, I want to get started in running. What is the piece of advice you would give them?
One of the best pieces of advice that I could give someone if they wanted to start running would be something that my mom and my dad told me my whole life, was that if you never ask, the answer is always no. And I think that goes back to me saying that I think running can be a metaphor for anything in life.
Sure.
If you say, oh, I can't run a 5K, if you're already telling yourself no, then no, you can't do it. I think you just have to, anything's hard until you do it. Running is going to suck until you get used to it. Running's hard until it's not anymore. So if you want to start running, start small. See, can I run a mile? Okay, if that was comfortable, bump it up a little bit. Do a combination of running / walking. Sign up for that first 5K, because it's all going to be hard and everything's going to be a no until it's not.
That is good. That's really good. Ugh. Okay, so you've crossed the finish line for the marathon. What are your next goals?
So I guess I need to go to Vegas and try my luck, because I got into the lottery for Chicago.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm going to be running the Chicago Marathon in 24.
That's awesome.
So that is my next big running goal.
Mm-hmm.
And I laughed with my husband. I was like, at this point, I'm sure you're familiar with the world majors, but I'm like, Earl, at this point, I will have done New York, I will have done Chicago. Why not go for all 6?
Which technically there might be a 7th star.
Right, I know.
So...
I know. So Chicago is the next big one that's coming up. I would love to, I don't know how far down the road, but maybe do an ultra.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I think the only reason I'm even telling myself that is because the marathon, I never hit a wall. It definitely was hard.
Sure.
And my body was definitely tired. But I think it just goes back to my training. And I trained really well. I'm a pretty good endurance runner. I can handle the distances. And I never hit a wall. And I was fully anticipating that, because so many people had warned me. They were like, around mile 20, 21, you're going to hit that wall. And I really didn't. And I remember I saw my husband, I saw him at mile 18, and that was so exciting and great and really gave me a push that I needed at that point. And then I saw him again at mile 24 in the park. And I remember I stopped briefly and gave him a hug. And he was like, you have 2 more miles. 2 more miles, that's it. And in my mind, I was like, that's less than 20 minutes. I'm almost there. So I don't know. I think when I finished the marathon, and then even when I looked at my Strava and it really told me I'd done 28 miles. Okay, what's 2 more miles after that? So that could possibly be a goal one day.
Okay.
But I think that's also the great thing about running, is as long as I'm healthy and my body stays healthy and I can stay injury free, this is a sport you can do for the rest of your life. So why not set those lofty goals? Why not say, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I ran the London Marathon and then we got to take a trip to London one day? I think why not? Aim high.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's so exciting. I love that. Mantra for when it did get hard and you were like, what is something you told yourself?
Pain is always temporary. It's always going to be hard until it's not anymore. And I think for me, especially the older I've gotten, and now that I am a mother and I have a teenage boy, and I'm trying to really show him how much our minds and bodies are capable of, I think when I'm running and it is really hard, I just remind myself, I get to do this.
Yeah.
And then I think back to losing my dad, and he was only 63, and that's so young.
Yeah.
He could have had so much more life ahead of him, and it is hard that he's not here to see his grandkids grow up and see all the things that they've already accomplished in their short years. And I think I just always remind myself, I'm lucky to be here, I'm lucky to be healthy and able-bodied, and I get to do this. I get to wake up and go run if I want to, and think about people that can't.
Yeah.
And I know during the marathon, it was amazing to see you'd pass runners on the course that the back of their shirt would say blind athlete. And they would be tethered to a guide that was running with them.
Yeah.
And of course, you pass all different adaptive athletes. And I'm like, if they can do this, if I'm running on the same course, I'm running in the same race as an elite runner who's been in the Olympics, and I'm also running the same race and the same course with a blind athlete who's going to complete 26.2 miles. If they can do it, I can do it.
And again, it goes back to what you said, don't compare yourself.
Yeah.
You're all in a different journey. And I love that. Oh, that's so good. And what a cool thing to experience while you're running that. Of we're all in this together.
Yeah. It was just so incredible. And it's been, not even a month now, and it's just incredible. It was the coolest journey. Clarice and I went together, but we were in different corrals.
Yeah.
So I remember telling my husband I was nervous about getting to the start by myself because I have to navigate the New York subway, finding my way to the Staten Island ferry by myself. But then literally I walked from our hotel to the subway, and then I just happened to which of course every single person in the subway is going to the marathon. Yeah. They're all runners. So I'm in good company. I just follow the crowd. But I'm standing there on the subway platform, and I just strike up a conversation with these two complete strangers.
I love that.
David and Sopie. And they didn't know each other either. And then the three of us just were standing there waiting for the subway. And David's from California. Sopie was from Miami. And we were all just chatting. And they were like, is this your first marathon? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, it's our first New York Marathon too. And then the three of us, we banded together. Aww. And they were like, okay, since we're all alone, we're just going to travel from this point forward together. So we all sat together on the subway. We sat together on the ferry. We hung out in the Start Village. And that was such a blessing to find them because, again, we're all doing it together. I'm sure they were just as nervous getting to that point by themselves, but it was incredible.
What a cool story.
I know.
Oh, I love that. So with all the training, all the different races, what is your favorite length to run? Is there a certain mileage when you see it and you're like, yes, I get to go run that?
So it's funny. If you had asked me that before I just went through this whole training and marathon journey, I would probably say my favorite length is I love a 10K.
Okay.
Because I was very comfortable there. That was in my comfort zone.
Okay.
And even though before the marathon I had done several half marathons, so I knew that I was certainly capable of running 13 miles, I think even that was just kind of like, oh, well, that's on race day. Like, you only run 13 miles on race day. You just build up to that mileage, maybe 10, 11 miles when you're training. And then when I was really in that marathon training, 13 miles became nothing. On the weekends where you were having to run 18 miles, and that seemed overwhelming. And then the way that my training went, I would get up to high mileage, and then the next week you drop down. And so I remember there were certain weeks where I was like, okay, I've got an 18-mile run this weekend, but the next weekend I only have to do 12. And that seemed like a walk in the park.
Yeah.
And so I really started to love the kind of anywhere from 11 to 13 range. That became really comfortable because I had to do it so much. Just on a weekly basis, Maggie and I, we have a little route that we run, and it's right at 3 miles.
Okay.
And so just on the weekdays when I'm running, especially if I'm running with her, 3 miles, I'm awake, I feel good. But now I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with myself now that the marathon's come and gone, and Chicago's next summer, so won't really be ramping up training for that till next summer, and then of course the race is in October. Now I get to just decide, hey, this weekend if I want to go on a long run, what does that long run look like?
Sure.
I'm not tied down to anything. I can just choose what feels good and what I want to do. But as far as races, I love a 5K.
Okay.
5Ks are fun. You know what you're getting into. You can definitely handle that mentality of, all right, mile 1, I'm going to find my pace, mile 2, maintain my pace, and then mile 3, let's empty the tank and finish strong. So I do love that distance for races, especially local races, because I know a lot of races in Mobile offer a 5K. But yeah.
Okay. I like it. That's good. When you're not running, what are you passionate about, my friend?
My family. I love my family. They drive me absolutely crazy, but I love them, and we love to just spend time together. On the weekends, we'll watch football, grill out, hang out. My oldest son's 13, our middle is 5, and then our youngest, she's our little tiny tornado, finally 2 boys and a girl. She will be 2 in the spring, so their ages are all over the place. But I love to spend time with my family and just eat good food, hang out. My oldest son, he is a little athlete. He plays basketball. He's an amazing basketball player. So he's in the middle of basketball season right now. We love to go to his games and watch him. And I love seeing the journey that he's on as a student athlete and just how much he's grown. Even watching him play basketball from 2 years ago to now. The other night we were at one of his games, and my husband was like, Faye, this is a real basketball game. Like, they're like good.
Yeah.
And so I love watching him and just anything with my family. But then they'll also drive me crazy, and I'll tell my husband, I'm like, or I like to call it separate togetherness. I want us to all be together, but you're in the den watching TV. Maybe I'm in the bedroom watching Netflix. We're all together. The kids are all. Yeah. I'm like, I need a little space.
Yeah.
So
that's why you like running.
Yeah,
out on your
that probably
own.
is, because I can get out on my own away from them.
I love that. Any final words of wisdom, my friend?
Running can take you so many places in life. I mean, it really can. Just the personal journey that it's been for me and how much it's meant to me just in my later years as becoming a late in life runner. Running has seen me through good times, bad times, tragedy. Some of the happiest times of my life have been running, and the people you meet. This really is a community, and it's a community that really does support each other. And I would encourage anyone, even if it's not running, find something. I have friends that are tennis players and pickleball players, and I'm not that coordinated, but they have little community, and they'll go out and play tennis and then hang out. And I really think the older you get, you do have to find your people. And so much of that has been brought to me through running, and I'm forever grateful.
I love that. Oh, thank you, my friend.
Thank
so
you.
Much. So good. Thank you, Faye, so much for your story. Absolutely incredible. And again, I really wish I could be like you and be like, you know what, at 4 a.m., I'm up, I'm out, let's go, let's do this. Again, you have such an incredible mind and such a strong mind. And I also love the fact that you had your kids involved in this and your husband. And even though he told you no, you're like, watch this, I got this. I feel like anybody that tells you no, they're about to learn the biggest lesson of their life. And I love that. It's so encouraging. And Faye, again, guys, I encourage you at a run or an event to go see her, go meet her. She's absolutely incredible and such a sweet runner. And I mean, just so fun, such a fun human being. And I absolutely adore her. And we're now buds. Like, that's all I got to say. I'm a huge fan of Faye. So thank you, Faye, so much for your story, so much for your heart for this community, so much for what you're doing for the next generation. And again, what you're teaching your boys already, that like they can do anything. And so that's just phenomenal. I just absolutely love that. So your kids are, I'm sure, looking up to you going, my mom can do anything. And it's true. You can, my friend. You can do anything. So just absolutely phenomenal. And again, thank you guys so much to Do Goods. They are amazing. Go shop there. Go tell them that you listen to Run Your Story and get that special discount when you go check out. Do Goods, I cannot say enough great things about what they do for our community, what they do, introducing us to different brands and different companies that believe in the greater good, and they're making a difference. Absolutely phenomenal. And guys, as we're going into 2024, just so excited for all the things that we have, especially for our Patreon supporters. Not too late to jump on board for us, guys, and join the Patreon community. We're very, very excited about the future and what we have. Also, be looking out for our friend Dave, who was on the podcast as well, and all of his blogs coming out. Super excited of what he's doing there with Run Your Story. And then again, thank you so much to Mars Hill for providing us such a great, safe place to be able to share our stories. And our stories are hard and they're difficult, and we are so human, and it reminds us of just how human we are. And you give us such a safe place to be able to share that and to be vulnerable and also to be encouraged. And so thank you to Mars Hill. Thank you for believing in the running community, and thank you for believing in Run Your Story. And as always, this would not be possible without our Patreon supporters. You guys are the MVPs because you keep this podcast going. We are absolutely amazed by you, and we thank you so much. Don't forget to like, share, comment. Guys, this podcast, that's how your stories get out there and get told, and we're so excited to be able to share them. It truly is an honor. And this podcast would not be made possible without Greg Gaillard from Gaillard Tech Services. From the editing to the website, he does all the hard things that I cannot do. And I say this, and we say this a lot, I get to do the fun stuff, and I think it's fun. I think what he does is hard and boring, but he thinks what he does is fun. So it's a great team. So huge shout out to him. If you need to freshen up that website for 2024 or create a new one, he's got you. So definitely reach out to him. If anything, just sit down with him. He loves to chat and explore options with you about revamping that website of yours. So huge thank you to this community, because it takes a community to put on this podcast. And that's why we say that this is your run stories. This is your podcast, and we just get to be a part of it. And so we truly are thankful. We're so excited for 2024. We're so excited for all the stories we got to share this year. And so thank you so much to our running community. No matter where you are, we learned that we're in 28 countries. So whatever country you're listening in, thank you for listening to this. And we hope that you know that your story is incredible and it's inspiring, and you truly are making a difference. And again, thank you so much, Faye, for sitting down and for sharing your story. I absolutely love you, my friend. You're absolutely incredible. And I just thank you so much for that. And a part of your story is now part of mine, and it's a part of the running communities. And so, guys, when you get out there and you're running, just remember to run your story, because every story needs to be heard.